Hi, everybody. We had a great Synod Assembly in early June, June 10th through 12th in New Braunfels. The theme for our Synod this year was Got Good News? Go with it. But maybe you are like many people and have never been to a Synod Assembly before. So we wanted to create this video to kind of invite you to see what happens at a Synod Assembly. If you know anything about our church, it's large. It's the ELCA. It's a national church body, and we have 65 regional groupings of churches called synods. And ours is the Southwestern Texas Synod, which stretches from north of Austin all the way down to the valley. So it's a very large region. This word synod comes from a Greek word that means to travel a common road, to walk together. That's what it means to be a synod, is to walk together on the way, which is what we call the way of following Jesus Christ. And every year, our synod has a synod assembly, which gathers together voting members from all across our synod, our churches, to learn, to grow, and to prayerfully make decisions together to guide and shape our being the body of Christ in our large region, but also in the towns in which we live. And then every 3 years, the larger ELCA church body, the national church, holds a church-wide assembly to send voting members from all the different regions to do this same kind of work on a national level, to grow and to learn and to prayerfully make decisions to guide and shape our being the body of Christ across the world, all the way down to the towns we live in. And this summer is actually one of those years. In August, we will have a national church assembly. So I'm going to turn this over to our other voting members who went this June so that you can learn a little bit more about our Synod Assembly.
I think the thing that impressed me the most, or the most that I got out of it the most, was the diversity of the church body as a whole that we just don't see here in Marble Falls. We're a pretty white congregation, and there's a lot of diversity within the Synod and within the ELCA. Kelly Chapman's message of how we should not expect those who are different from us to adapt to our culture resonated with me. That we should meet them where they are, learn to embrace their culture, get to know them, and get to know their life experiences. And that we should see people who are different from us as having assets and not deficits. We tend to think of folks that are different from us as lacking something that we have, but it's just different, and we need to embrace that difference and get to know it. We need to listen. We need to experience holy discomfort because it's not comfortable when we reach outside of our box. We need to break bread together, and we need to be curious rather than judgmental. He cited a quote from urban art that gave me pause. When they buried us, they didn't know we were seeds. And discussed that we should not bury the good news as Lutherans tend to do, but let the world know who we are, that we are people of God spreading His word. And he issued us a challenge. Do we recognize each other as human, or do we isolate ourselves? We say all are welcome here. Do we really mean it?
What I enjoyed most about attending the Synod Assembly was getting to see all the different types of people. We got to meet a lot of people who are in minorities, and they were getting to lead things, which was really neat. And the whole Synod Assembly was about trying to meet people where they are so that we can all become better.
And one of the obvious themes was radical inclusivity. And this was demonstrated the minute I walked into the banquet room, or the meeting room, and there was this wonderful area for little children. And they had pillows and toys and books, a Spark Bible, and little tables and chairs. And they were in the assembly room with us all throughout our meeting and in our worship. Also, I, as a member of the lead team, my ears perked up to several things that were being talked about that our lead team has been learning about. And one of the things that we talked about with our congregation a couple of weeks ago was worldview and examining our perspectives. And this was a point that our keynote speaker, Kelly Chapman, made, that he talked about three basic worldviews that are present in our American society, and invited us or challenged us to examine our own worldview and to be open to engage people with different worldviews.
I think each congregation has its own areas of focus with their mission efforts. I think of us as having the backpack blessings and the church school. We saw video features of a church in Shiner that does an after-school program that is really successful, and people at another congregation who work to help get immigrants that are legal immigrants into our country settled in their lives here. So it was good for me to see all of these other things going on outside our congregation that are part of our church body.
Oh, I think it's kind of eye-opening when you go to an assembly and you learn all about what the church is doing. And we have in our monthly emails a link to Synod publications and church-wide publications. So I'm going to pay more close attention to those. And I think it made me really proud just to be Lutheran, to be part of this church. And I feel like it really highlights the importance of being part of a bigger church body that can do so much more in the world than one congregation in a small town.
We had an opportunity to share stories about ourselves and to talk about how we are co-creators with God. And I met a woman named Bianca who was told by her father that she could never leave home until she got married. So she got married, she had a daughter, the marriage ended in divorce. Her father ostracized her totally from the family. She got kicked out of her church. She was excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church. She was destitute and alone, had lost everything. She said God came to her and spoke to her in the bathtub, of all places, that she was suicidal. But she heard his voice say, if you will give your life over to me, I will take care of you. And so she did that. And now she has rehabilitated her life. She's joined a new congregation, a Lutheran congregation. She is now working as the director of a food bank in her community. And she says that she sees every day the assets that others who are different from her bring to her life. So I sometimes think our outreach efforts here at St. Peter's they feel a little small when you think about the overall needs in the world. But they grow when combined with other contributions. And this is about money, but I just wanted to add just say a few numbers here. The ELCA gave $22 million toward easing world hunger last year. $22 million. Disaster relief contributions from our synod were $152,000. But the ELCA, as a combined body, sent $14,458,000 to 46 countries for disaster relief. In the first 2 months, $2 million were donated toward the people in Ukraine, and a total of $4 million of relief have been sent overall for those helping resettle those folks. That's an awesome amount of money, an awesome mission. And just as a footnote, I learned that our synod has about 117 congregations. The number fluctuates a little bit from time to time, but only 50 of those, almost half, are unable to afford even a part-time pastor. And I felt like we are so blessed here at St. Peter's to be looking at a full-time pastor plus another partial pastor. I think that's a wonderful thing.
If I were to encourage someone to attend the Synod Assembly, especially a youth, I'd say that it's super fun. It's super cool. Everybody's opinions are valued, and I think that that's what was the most important thing to me, is that when I spoke up, even though I'm only 18, people listened and people wanted to know what I had to say, and I felt really valued there. And we got to have big conversations, which are sometimes really hard to have, but felt really good to have with people who knew a lot about those topics.
I would say go. This was the third one I've attended, and it had an entirely different tone from the one I had seen previously. And it showed me how the church has changed over the last 8 years. I would say go, if not for the worship service alone. That was always my favorite part. So
I would just say go. And next year it's going to be virtual. You can sit on your couch and attend the Synod Assembly. I was born a Lutheran, been Lutheran all my life, and had never been to an assembly before. And I found it inspiring. I found it to be really creative, to be joyful, to be spirit-filled. And I would recommend it for anyone to go. It helped me put into perspective what we as a bigger church body are all about. Our congregation is not alone. There's a lot of support out there, a lot of other good things happening that we tend to not hear about, and I wish we heard more about them. It was a good experience.